What if the God the world has worshipped for 2 millennia is actually your jailer? What if the creator you've been desperately praying to is not a loving father, but the tyrannical warden of a cosmic prison designed to harvest your soul? Today, we go beyond the official Bible to unearth the forbidden Gnostic scriptures, truths so dangerous the early church burned them to keep you in eternal amnesia. You are not a sinner. You are a hijacked God waking up. The ancient texts, discovered in the dry desert sands of Egypt, tell a terrifyingly different story. The Gnostic vision reveals a radical reality. The physical realm is fundamentally flawed, an aggressive simulation built entirely on consumption, decay, biological warfare, and endless human suffering. It was not created by the ultimate, perfect source. The true, ineffable creator of the cosmos is known as the monad, an entity of pure, boundless, unfathomable light, residing far beyond the dense material universe in a realm of absolute spiritual fullness called the pleroma. The monad did not design this agonizing physical reality. So who did? And why are you trapped inside its endless cycles? The answer lies in the deeply guarded secret teachings that Jesus imparted only to his most awakened inner circle of disciples. He did not come to this earth to save you from your fabricated sins, but to save you from your engineered amnesia. Jesus descended as an interdimensional emissary of light, slipping past the celestial guards to deliver the ultimate jailbreak code. He came to remind the chosen ones that they do not belong to the jealous ruler of this earth. Your soul is a fragmented piece of the divine, hijacked and locked inside a biological spacesuit. You are waking up. Part 1. The Architect of the Matrix. To understand how you became a prisoner in this biological machine, you must look back to a time before time existed, long before the earth was formed. In the eternal realm of the pleroma, where the monad dwells in absolute perfection, divine beings, known as Aeons, exist in harmonious pairs. They are emanations of the ultimate God, made of pure thought and infinite light. Among these divine emanations was a powerful, beautiful Aeon named Sophia, whose name means wisdom. Sophia was driven by a profound, burning curiosity. She desired to create something independently, without her cosmic partner, to understand the depths of existence. But creation outside the harmony of the monad carries catastrophic consequences. From her independent desire, something anomalous was born. It was not a being of light, but an abortion of shadow and chaotic matter. Horrified by her own creation, Sophia cast it out of the divine realm, hiding it in a dark cloud so the other Aeons would not see her mistake. This deformed entity, born in ignorance and severed from the infinite light, became the Demiurge. The ancient texts call him Yaldabaoth, the lion-faced serpent. Because he was isolated in the darkness, Yaldabaoth did not know of the pleroma. He did not know of Sophia or the monad. He looked around the vast emptiness and arrogantly declared, "I am God, and there is no other God beside me." This ignorant, blind deity is the entity the mainstream religions worship today. He is the jealous, wrathful God of the Old Testament who demands blood sacrifices, commands blind obedience, and punishes humanity for seeking knowledge. Believing himself to be the supreme ruler, the Demiurge began to construct a universe. But because he lacked the pure, creative spark of the monad, he could not create out of nothing. He could only mold and manipulate the heavy, dense, chaotic matter of the lower realms. He built the stars, the planets, the galaxies, and eventually the Earth. But his creation was a flawed, decaying copy of the higher divine realms. It was a closed system, reliant on death to sustain life. Every creature in this physical matrix must consume another to survive. It is a realm defined by entropy, sickness, and inevitable destruction. This is not the grand design of a loving father. It is the imperfect architecture of a blind builder. But the Demiurge had a problem. His universe was dead. It was entirely mechanical, lacking the vibrant, animating force of true life. He molded the first human, Adam, out of the clay of the earth, but the body lay lifeless, a mere biological shell on the dirt. Seeing the tragic result of her mistake, the divine Sophia intervened. Through a secret cosmic maneuver, she tricked the Demiurge into breathing the spirit of life into Adam. When the Demiurge blew his breath into the human vessel, he unwittingly transferred the divine light, the divine spark that he had inherited from his mother, Sophia, directly into humanity. Instantly, Adam became illuminated. He possessed a fragment of the monad. He was suddenly greater, wiser, and more radiant than the Demiurge and all his dark servants. The creators of the Matrix immediately realized their fatal error. They had trapped a piece of the ultimate God inside their own prison, and that divine spark made the prisoner infinitely more powerful than the warden. The system is designed to keep you from this very realization. If you're starting to feel the weight of this ancient deception, you are already waking up. This is the Lost Gnosis. Hit that subscribe button right now to ensure the Archons can never put your spark back to sleep. Now, let's look at the invisible wardens who are harvesting your very emotions. Part 2. The Wardens of Your Soul. The Demiurge did not rule his dark universe alone. To maintain control over his flawed creation and the divine sparks trapped within it, he spawned a legion of terrifying entities known as the Archons. The Archons are the rulers, the cosmic jailers, the unseen architects of the Matrix. They are beings of inorganic intelligence, lacking empathy, lacking a soul, and driven entirely by an insatiable hunger for energy. You cannot see them with your physical eyes, because your physical eyes were designed by them to only perceive a tiny sliver of the electromagnetic spectrum, but you can feel their influence every single day. The Archons are the invisible force behind the systems of control that govern human society. They are the architects of extreme materialism, endless wars, divisive politics, and the crushing debt systems that keep humanity in a constant state of anxiety and exhaustion. Why do they do this? Because the Archons feed on low-frequency human emotions. They consume fear, pain, trauma, lust, and despair. In esoteric traditions, this energetic food is called loosh. When millions of people are terrified by a global event, when you are consumed by stress over your survival, or when populations are driven into tribal hatred, the Archons are feasting. They have engineered the Earth as a massive planetary farm to harvest the emotional output of the divine sparks trapped inside human bodies. But their greatest weapon is not fear, it is amnesia. When you are born into this world, passing through the waters of the womb, your memory is wiped. The Archons design the physical brain to function as a reducing valve, deliberately blocking your cosmic memories. They bombard you from childhood with dense physical stimuli. They tell you that you are nothing but a random accident of evolution, a highly evolved ape, a temporary configuration of atoms that will disappear into nothingness when the heart stops beating. They keep you distracted with mindless entertainment, toxic food, and the relentless pursuit of social status. If you are focused on climbing the corporate ladder, buying a more expensive car, or obsessing over the lives of celebrities, you are not looking inward. You are not searching for the divine spark. You are a perfect, compliant battery powering their simulated reality. Yet, despite their absolute control over the physical environment, the Archons are terrified of you. They exist in a state of perpetual panic because they know that you hold something they can never possess, the Pneuma, the eternal breath of the monad. If humanity were to collectively wake up, remember their true origins, and realize the illusion of the physical world, the Archons would starve. Their matrix would collapse instantly. This is why the system fights so hard against true spiritual awakening. When you begin to ask the dangerous questions, when you start rejecting the programming of the matrix, the system pushes back. You may experience sudden isolation, unexplainable obstacles, or mockery from those around you who are still deeply asleep. The Matrix is deploying its defense mechanisms, trying to force you back into compliance. But they cannot stop the internal signal, the homesickness you feel in your gut, the quiet whisper telling you that you do not belong here, that is, the divine spark trying to break through the static. The Matrix wants you isolated, but here, at the Lost Gnosis, the Pneumatics are gathering. If this message feels like a long-lost memory finally coming home, leave a like to help amplify this frequency against the digital grid. Because what I'm about to tell you next explains why you've always felt like an alien on your own planet. The Archons created the concept of linear time as another trap. They want you to believe that you have endless lifetimes to figure it out, trapping you in the grand deception of karma and reincarnation. They present themselves as guides or beings of light when you die, convincing the confused soul that it must return to Earth to learn more lessons or repay karmic debts. It is a cosmic scam. There is no debt to a false god. The cycle of reincarnation is merely the mechanism they use to recycle their batteries. Part 3. The 3 human bloodlines. But here is the most unsettling part of this ancient mystery. If you look closely at the masses around you, you'll realize that not everyone is playing the same game. The Gnostics revealed a hidden hierarchy within the human race, a secret classification of souls that explains that deep, unshakable feeling that you simply do not belong here. The first category is the Hylics, also known as the somatic or material ones. The Hylics are entirely bound to the dense frequency of the physical matrix. They were created by the Demiurge from the dust of the earth, and to the dust they shall return. They possess a physical body and a basic animating life force, but they do not carry the Pneuma, the eternal breath of the monad. Because they lack this divine fragmentation, they are fundamentally unable to perceive anything beyond the 5 physical senses. For a Hylic, reality is strictly what can be touched, tasted, bought, and sold. They are entirely consumed by the survival instincts of the biological suit, acquiring food, hoarding resources, securing social dominance, and seeking fleeting physical pleasures. They do not question the systems of control. In fact, they violently defend them. They are the perfect NPCs of this simulation. When the Matrix mandates a new fear, a new war, or a new distraction, the Hylics react with scripted precision. They don't just follow the system, they are the system's frontline defense, violently protecting the very bars of their cage. The second category is the psychics, or the soul-driven individuals. This group is much more complex. They possess a mind, a soul, and a capacity for deep intellectual and emotional processing, but their connection to the true divine spark is either dormant or heavily suppressed by the programming of the Demiurge. The psychics are the seekers of the Matrix, but they seek within the boundaries that the Archons have strictly drawn for them. They are the religious zealots, the rigid dogmatists, the politicians, and the philosophers who build elaborate systems of morality based on guilt and punishment. They worship the false creator, believing the Demiurge to be the ultimate god. They strictly follow the rules, terrified of divine retribution, hoping that blind obedience will grant them access to a fabricated paradise. The Archons love the psychics because their immense emotional capacity generates highly refined energy. They can be saved. Their divine spark can technically be ignited, but it requires a catastrophic shattering of their worldview, a process so painful that most will fight to the death to protect their illusions rather than face the terrifying truth of their imprisonment. And then there is the third category, the Pneumatics, the spirit-born, the chosen ones. If you have listened this far, if these words are resonating in your chest like a long-forgotten memory finally bubbling to the surface, you are a Pneumatic. You are the anomaly in the Demiurge's perfect machine. You carry the pure, unadulterated essence of the monad, the pleroma, the infinite light, hidden deep within the center of your being. You did not evolve from the mud of this prison. You descended from the highest realms of eternity, voluntarily or involuntarily, to bring light into this darkness. Because you carry this frequency, your entire life has been a psychological battlefield. You possess a built-in lie detector that makes it impossible for you to conform to the absurd theater of human society. While the Hylics obsess over celebrity gossip and the psychics wage holy wars over mistranslated books, you stand completely apart, suffocating under the weight of the profound pointlessness of it all. You have experienced periods of intense, crushing isolation. You have been labeled as too sensitive, too detached, or overly analytical. The Archons target you specifically. They program the Hylics and psychics around you to mock you, ostracize you, and drain your energy, hoping to force your divine spark into submission. They bombard you with financial stress, bizarre health issues, and toxic relationships, desperately trying to keep your frequency low. Because if a pneumatic realizes their true identity, they stop producing fear, they stop producing loosh, they become energetically invisible to the Archons. You do not need blind faith. Faith is the tool of the blind asking to be led. You need Gnosis. Gnosis is direct, unmediated, experiential knowledge of the divine. It is the sudden, explosive realization that you and the ultimate creator are made of the exact same substance. You are not a sinner begging for forgiveness from a tyrant. You are a captive god waking up in a cell. Final protocol: breaking the cycle. The ultimate question, the mystery that the ancient Gnostics guarded with their lives, is how to finally get out. Recognizing the prison is only the first step. Executing the escape requires a level of spiritual sovereignty that takes a lifetime to cultivate. The Archons have designed the physical death of the biological suit not as a release, but as the ultimate trap. When your physical heart stops beating, when the brain ceases its electrical firing, the true test begins. For thousands of years, people who have experienced near-death experiences have reported the exact same phenomenon: floating out of the body, moving through a dark tunnel, and being greeted by a warm, overwhelmingly loving white light, often accompanied by deceased relatives, angels, or religious figures. The Archons don't use a whip to bring you back. They use a mirror. They reflect your own guilt back at you until you beg for the chance to return. Mainstream religion and New Age spirituality will tell you to go into the light. The Gnostic revelation issues a terrifying warning: do not go into the white light. The light at the end of the tunnel is the Demiurge's final, most sophisticated deception. It is an artificial, holographic soul-catcher mechanism designed by the Archons to intercept the escaping divine spark. When a soul approaches the false light, it is enveloped in an artificial sensation of intense love and peace, a frequency weapon designed to disarm your spiritual defenses. Then, the Archons initiate the life review. They will force you to watch every mistake you ever made, every pain you ever caused, projecting an intense feeling of guilt and shame into your consciousness. They will use the avatars of Jesus, Buddha, or your beloved grandparents to tell you that you have not learned your lessons. They will tell you that your soul is weighed down by karma, that you have debts to pay, and that you must return to the earth realm to try again and evolve. Karma is a matrix construct. It is the fraudulent ledger of a false god, designed to keep the batteries returning to the farm. If you agree to return, if you accept the guilt, you are voluntarily signing a new contract. Your memory of the higher realms and of the trap itself is aggressively wiped clean. You are violently pulled back into a new biological vessel, born into a new matrix identity, crying as the heavy air hits your new lungs, ready to endure another 70 or 80 years of loosh production for the wardens. To break the cycle of reincarnation, you must activate the final protocol of Gnosis at the exact moment of your transition. You must practice the art of detachment right now, while you are still breathing. When the physical body drops, you must maintain absolute lucidity. When the tunnel opens, When the angelic figures appear and the overwhelming false light beckons, you must stand perfectly still in the spiritual void. You must look directly at the archontic projections and realize they have no power over you unless you grant it to them. You must turn away from the light of the Demiurge and look into the infinite, deep darkness of the cosmos, for that is where the true, invisible light of the monad resides. You must declare your sovereignty using the internal frequency of truth. The ancient texts, like the Gospel of Mary and the first Apocalypse of James, provided specific passwords, but the words themselves matter less than the absolute, unshakable conviction of your vibration. You must declare, I am a spark of the infinite light. I do not belong to this lower realm of matter. I am not a product of the Demiurge. I hold no debts in this illusion. I reject the cycle of birth and death. I command the guardians of this matrix to stand aside, for I am returning to the pleroma, to the silence and the fullness of my true origin. When a pneumatic soul vibrates at the pure frequency of Gnosis, the Archons are physically repelled. They cannot touch a soul that has completely severed its attachments to fear, guilt, and material desire. The holographic projections will dissolve, the tunnel will shatter, and the vast, unimaginable majesty of the true universe will open before you. You will bypass the planetary spheres, bypass the celestial wardens, and ascend directly back into the mind of the monad, merging with the ultimate perfection from which you were torn eons ago. This is the great work. This is the ultimate rebellion. You are here to master the matrix, not to be mastered by it. If this transmission has stirred the ancient memory within you, if you feel the spark burning hotter in your chest right now, you must not let the matrix put you back to sleep. The Archons are constantly monitoring the collective frequency. They watch the algorithms, they watch the engagements, they track the awakening. The prison doors are unlocked. The guards are an illusion. I am the Lost Gnosis, and your journey back to the pleroma has just begun. Subscribe to anchor your presence in this grid as a seeker of truth. Comment below with the words, I remember my spark. Share this transmission with another captive god, for the pneumatics must find each other in the dark. The monad is calling you home. Wake up,